Today, I want to talk about some of the qualities that bad bosses that I worked with had. Now, I usually don't make videos just to complain about things, and this is not one of them. The reason why I want to talk about this, because if you're a boss, if you're managing people, watch out to see if you have such qualities and try to eliminate them. So, if that's the topic that you're interested in today, let's talk about that. So where I want to start is from my younger days when I was just a simple tech guy sitting in a dark room creating load files. And one of the bosses I had this really terrible quality where if I tell them that instructions don't sound right or something seems odd, they would not go and check with the client. And so it would be like that, they send me a request saying do this and that. And I'm looking at it, I'm like, yeah, I don't think this is what they really want. This is just doesn't seem right. Can you call back and let's double check? And they would not do that no matter what. And what would wind up happening is later on when we send a deliverable to a client, they would come back and says, hey, that's not what we wanted. And then my boss would make me do the job over the way I originally thought it should have been done. While this was pretty frustrating for a while, my boss did learn to trust me after some time. And whenever I would have told him that, look, this doesn't sound right, let's call the client, he would do just that. We would go to his office, we would get on the phone, we would discuss the intent behind the request, and then sometimes we would even find even more information about what they really wanted to do, and we would adjust the job or export instructions or something else accordingly, and things would go better. So point is, if one of your employees telling you something doesn't seem right, don't insist because maybe there was a miscommunication somewhere, and double check with the client. It's better to do things once correctly than do them twice. And the next issue I had with my boss is clear line of communications. I was sort of a supervisor, I guess, managing a project, and I would go on, when we used to do scanning, right? I would tell, hey, you need to work on this project and scan this box, then you would need to switch to a different box from a different project. And then my boss would come in and just tell the scanner to do something else. And then 3 hours later, I come out, I'm like, hey, so what's going on with this box? And he's like, oh no, I was told to change it to something else. I'm like, well hang on, this is so confusing, I'm supposed to be managing this, and he comes in and overrides me, and it was absolute mess communicating like that. And this person would refuse to sort of tell me what's going on, maybe like a pride thing or whatever. They just didn't feel like reporting to me because I was technically below them. But then at the same time, I was supposed to be coordinating certain projects. So this was a real mess as to what was going on the production floor. Lucky for me, this was kind of a temporary transitional situation where, multiple companies merged and no one knew who was in charge of what, and people didn't have titles. Not that we really have great titles now, but it was just a complete mess for maybe 6 months or so, and no one knew who's reporting to whom or what is going on. So I had to deal with that for a while. And one of the important jobs of a boss or manager is solving problems. Whenever an employee tells you there's something going on, something's wrong, process is broken, they have to jump in there and figure out what's causing the problem, figure out the steps to solve it, and basically deal with the problem. Well, one of the bosses I had, he kept using the word we a lot. And I would say, hey, we had this problem on this job with communicating with the client, so and so. And he'd be like, yeah, we should be doing a better job. And then some other problem came up, he'd be like, yeah, we should be doing this better. We should be. I was getting already frustrated with him. I was like, who is we? There are specific people who are responsible for things. You got to go to that person and you got to tell them that they did something wrong and don't do it again. And he just kept having people like in the meeting and just going with general, we should be, as opposed to getting together with the person and telling them like, look, this is not the way to do it, or you failed to communicate, or you did something wrong. It was incredibly frustrating having to work with the boss who would just sort of generalize everything, how we should be a better company without actually telling individual people what they should be doing. I'm sure you can guess that boss didn't last too long. I don't even remember what his name was. There's so many. But you gotta be specific. When you're trying to resolve a problem, you're dealing with something, you gotta figure out who, what, where. You gotta get everything exact. You can't be just general talking to people. You gotta be, you do this, you do that. It may sound sometimes a little harsh or like giving orders, but that's what it is. That's what you gotta do. So don't be afraid to pick on specific people, point out if they made a mistake, and figure out what are the exact steps that are needed so that certain problems don't happen again. So those are my 3 bosses that I had trouble dealing with, and they caused a little bit of frustration at my job. So if you have any stories like that, put them in the comment section below. Don't forget to follow on LinkedIn, subscribe on YouTube, and I will see you on another video.